14th of December 1866, an advertisement placed in the London-based newspaper The Globe confidently declared that this song of all songs for Christmas time was causing an immense furore every evening in the music halls of Manchester. The song in question was Johnny I Hardly Knew You, written and composed by Joseph Brian Geoghegan. His father, a Dubliner, his mother, a Mancunian, Geoghegan was born near Salford in Manchester, England. In his early days, he was described as a bacchanalian vocalist and author of popular songs. But by the time he wrote Johnny I Hardly Knew You, he was manager of the Grecian Music Hall, an establishment in Deansgate, about 4 kilometres from Salford. First published in the summer of 1867, it seems that Geoghegan decided to push the meaning of written and composed to their limits. If I was a gambling man, I would wager a safe bet that Geoghegan's composition was heavily influenced by, if not directly based on, When Johnny Comes Marching Home, a song published in 1863 and written by Louis Lambert, a pen name used by Patrick Sarsfield Gilmore, the Irish-born band leader attached to the Union Army. During the American Civil War, Gilmore's song was sung by Union and Confederate troops alike, many of whom were Irishmen.
When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. The men will cheer, the boys will shout, the ladies they will all turn out and we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home.
Gilmore's triumphalist song was an unabashed celebration of patriotism and spoke of the glory which could be attained by a soldier who fought for his country. Conversely, Geoghegan's Johnny I Hardly Knew You spoke of the horrors of war, of the physical and mental trauma it inflicted on combatants. More specifically, it spoke of young Peggy seeing her barely recognisable sweetheart returning from battle, his injuries making him a pitiful sight, a noseless, eyeless, chickenless egg. Bizarrely, Johnny I Hardly Knew You was initially performed as a comic ditty and would only be regarded as a serious anti-war song many, many years later. It most probably gained traction in Ireland because the first line of the first verse referenced an Irish town, Athy, in County Kildare. On the 6th of August 1867, the Cork Daily Herald reported that on the previous day, Lady Day and Harvest, ballad singers were heard singing Johnny I Hardly Knew Ya on the streets of Cork. Between September and October of that year, the song became even more popular when it was performed on a nightly basis by Burton's great American troupe of Christie's Minstrels at the Rotundo Rooms in Cavendish Road, Dublin. For the next 85 years, the song continued to be performed by comedic singers on stages all over Ireland, England, Scotland and Wales. But in 1952, 7 years after the end of World War II, a 29-year-old Austrian-American singer, Martha Schlam, gave Geoghegan's song a brand new treatment. Recorded in New York for Hootenanny Records, Schlam sang it as a soulful lament, far removed from the original mocking ditty.
Where are your eyes that were so mild? Hurrah, hurrah! Where are your eyes that were so mild when my heart was so beguiled? Why did you run from me and the child? Oh, Johnny, I hardly knew you.
In 1960, a very youthful Bob Dylan made a recording of the song in an apartment in Minnesota, but it must be said that Dylan's attempt at affecting an Irish accent leaves a lot to be desired. With each passing year, the song, with some of the original lyrics changed and more verses added, was firmly establishing itself as an anti-war anthem. The Vietnam Veterans Against the War distributed their own version to serving soldiers in Vietnam, the second stanza of which went as follows: "You spent 12 months in Vietnam, hurroo, hurroo. Through blood and fear and tears and bomb, came home with a needle in your arm. Johnny, I hardly knew ya." And so ends the story of Joseph Brian Geoghegan's Johnny, I Hardly Knew Ya. When going the road to sweet a thigh, hurroo, hurroo. When going the road to sweet a thigh, hurroo. When going the road to sweet a thigh, a stick in my hand and a tear in my eye. A doleful damsel I heard cry, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. With your drums and guns and drums and guns, hurroo, hurroo. With your guns and drums and drums and guns, hurroo. With your drums and guns and guns and drums, the enemy nearly slew ya. Our darling dear, you look so queer, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. You hadn't an arm, you hadn't a leg, hurroo, hurroo. You hadn't an arm, you hadn't a leg, hurroo. You hadn't an arm, you hadn't a leg. You're an eyeless, boneless, chickenless egg. I'll have to be put with a bowl to beg, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. With your drums and guns and drums and guns, hurroo, hurroo. With your drums and guns and drums and guns, hurroo, hurroo. With your drums and guns and drums and guns, the enemy nearly slew ya. Ah, darling dear, you look so queer, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. But I'm happy for to see you home, hurroo, hurroo. I'm happy for to see you home, hurroo. I'm happy for to see you home, all from the island of Ceylon. Ah, so low in the flesh and so high in the bone. Johnny, I hardly knew ya. With your drums and drums and drums and guns, hurroo, hurroo. With your drums and guns and drums and guns, hurroo. With your drums and guns and drums and guns, the enemy nearly slew ya. Our darling dear, you look so queer, Johnny, I hardly knew